Hey everybody, ChrisLody here. Welcome to the studio. I haven't done an awful lot of vlog-based videos on the channel over the years, mostly because I don't really have that much that's interesting to talk about on a day-to-day basis. You mostly just see me pottering about in here, coming up with ideas, and that's just generally what I share on the channel. But that's changed a little bit recently because I've been hired to make a feature-length film score for a horror film. This is a UK-based independent film called Bad Things, and the score that's required is going to be experimental in nature. So that's what this set of videos will be about, is the process that goes into making the score, and what the sound design elements and the nuts and bolts of it really involve to make those sounds. So I don't want to pull the wool over your eyes here. I am making money out of this, but this isn't my main job, so this isn't going to be some kind of masterclass. It's mostly just going to be exploring the experimental nature of sound making, so there will be a lot of experiments, and there will be things that get used, and there will probably be things that don't get used. Most recently I've worked with Patrick Svelnchuk and Marek Vula on their film Roman, so I'm sure they'd appreciate if you went to check that out. I'll put a link in the description below. Previous to that, I've worked with Hotwood Films before, who are going to make Bad Things. I did the soundtrack for most recently their short film Vestige, which went on to win a number of awards, which is a really good bit of film. Also put a link to that below if you'd like to go and watch that. But those films are mostly made using what are called libraries, which are pre-recorded sounds that other companies have made that we can play back on our computers to score a film. I'm a big fan of making my own synth patches, but I've never really made my own sounds in terms of recording, so I've bought some more equipment and we'll be able to record lots of strange things and manipulate those and turn those into instruments, which is a good way to get away from sounding like other people. Outside of the score, we also require at least one piece of acoustic guitar with vocals, which I'll be recording here. I don't play guitar. I know a really good acoustic guitar player, and my wife is a vocalist, so we'll be using those to build that element. There'll also obviously be a number of peaks and troughs within the score, so it's not going to be like full tension constantly. There'll be mellower moments, so it'll be spiky. There'll be some smoother things that I'm hoping to build with synth sounds, and then some really aggressive things, violent parts of the score. It's also going to be quite a gory piece of film. There's going to be lots of in-camera effects and lots of blood. So it'll be quite a challenge to get all these different peaks and troughs, different types of sound, different feels throughout. It's kind of a dream job for me. I'm really looking forward to doing this. I can't tell you. So in terms of recording, this room isn't particularly big. It's great in terms of its acoustics, but it's not very large, so I can't get enormous things in here to stick mics in front of. But luckily I do have another space that's right outside the studio. This building was here when we moved in. It's a nice big open space. We tend to just use it as a kind of creative area to make lots of mess and lots of noise. So that's going to be really useful. Now I can't say at this stage exactly how much footage we'll be able to show of this film as these tutorials are being made. Possibly none of it. It depends on copyright and that kind of thing. Possibly after a preview or maybe a trailer has been released, we'll be able to talk about how the audio is actually laid down against the footage, but I may have to improvise and just borrow something from somewhere else just as a reference. But I'll cover as much ground as I possibly can within limits. It's fortunate really that I'm able to talk about this at all, because usually these sort of processes are kind of hidden away behind doors. I'm not sure whether it's just because people don't have the time to discuss the way these things are developed, or they're just sort of contracted away from being able to do so. But this is a really interesting opportunity, I think, to talk about this. So at this point I only have access to the screenplay as it develops. We're at really early stages, but reading through the script, there's a few elements that I sort of grabbed hold of as being interesting sort of points to use in terms of sound design. There is a digital nature to the threat in this film, so that has sort of informed a lot of my thinking in terms of what the kind of dangerous elements of the sound should be. So I've bought a few bits of equipment in regards to that, so yeah, let's have a look at those bits. So this is just a selection of gear I've got planned to use for the film. Not all of this is brand new to the studio. The Gen X one I've had quite a while, but there's a section in the film that references older film soundtracks. So that's probably what that's going to get used for. Plus it can produce incredibly high-pitched screaming sounds that just put you on edge with the resonance turned all the way up. The Live and XFM you'll have seen across my channel just recently. I've been working on this with Sonicware, helping them develop sounds and patterns for the machine. This has quite a strange synth architecture in that all the FM operators can talk to each other constantly, so it can create these kind of weird feedback webs which are great for very strange sounds. So the rest of this is new to the studio. The Soma Ether is what I'm planning on using mostly for sort of portraying the digital threat element. It's a device that's designed to pick up magnetic interference. This can either be through the radio waves or just like near field interference from devices. So it sounds really good in front of things like mobile phones. And also down my road there are boxes that connect the Wi-Fi to the local area, so they make great sounds. And also the fridges in our local co-op sound like a portal to hell. So that's just going to be fantastic for picking up lots of strange noises that we can either use for beds that run under things or percussive sounds, screams and that kind of thing. Great stuff. But as it so happens, the very next day after getting this, arriving at the post, this fell into my lap. This is an induction loop receiver for people that are hard of hearing. So basically you go into somewhere like a supermarket, they have a big induction loop set up and they can talk into a microphone. This will receive it through an induction core here, amplify the sound, and then the person will be able to hear what someone's saying. But this also picks up a near field interference in a slightly different way to this works, so that's also going to be useful. And then I've been looking to get a pair of stereo mics for quite a while. I bought these Studio Electronics SE7s, and a stereo mic bar was kindly donated by Tom from our local recording studio, which is just a bike ride around the corner to me, and that's called the Pump House Recording Studio. We might be going there at some point actually during this process to get some stuff mastered, so keep your eyes peeled for that. It's a great studio. Also, the Basel Castle here is a tiny little sort of header pin style modular system that will work with my vocal modular, so we can create a tiny little modular system. There's also a Basel Castle drum that's supposed to be here. I was waiting to do this video for that to arrive, but it's been about 6 weeks now. So I'm just going to wait. Let's get this done. So using that and the vocal modular and a few other external components, I can create tiny little modular systems, and they can create their own very unique sounds. Also, the Korg SQ1 can send out CV to that system. It can also turn incoming USB MIDI into CV to go to things like the vocal modular or my old, not mine actually, it's a mate of mine, Mark, the guitar player. It's his Korg MS-10 that can send CV out to that, so we can turn MIDI on the computer, which is like recorded note information, directly into CV, which is voltage, which can be turned into audio by the MS-10. So that's finally going to be able to integrate that into my system, which I've never been able to do before. This curious looking thing is called the Bad Good Box. This actually belongs to the director of the film. His father built this for him at some point out of old radio components. It's unfortunately not working properly, but it does produce some clicks and pops and scratchy noises that we're going to be able to sample and turn into percussive sounds. Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see what we can do with that. I'm keen to get that into the score just to have that kind of family connection, which I think have been really nice. And then something I've been looking to get for a very long time is the Artura Microfreak. This has so much potential. I really like this. I've been digging around in it slowly. There's a lot to learn. There's so many different synth types put into it, but one of the biggest draws for me was the keybed. This allows us to have polyphonic aftertouch. Normally when you have aftertouch on other keyboards, you press one of the keys and one signal is sent, and that affects all the notes being played. Whereas this, you can bend individual notes or send individual information depending on which key you're moving your fingers on to different parts of the synthesizer. So we're going to have to do some great weird string sounds with that. So I'll cover that in great detail at some point. So really hope you found this sort of intro to the making of interesting, and you want to carry on watching the rest of the episodes as they go out. They will be a bit sporadic, possibly here and there, especially once I actually start working on the footage and the deadlines start to creep up. There may be a big dead spot on the channel, but hopefully there'll be a few of these and you'll find them interesting. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.